Have you ever asked yourself, what now or what next? How many times have you found yourself changing the entire plan, and I mean personally or professionally, just to try to salvage a small piece of it? Well, you're not alone. Welcome to Iteration Required with me as your host, Tamila Fati. Hello, and welcome back to Iteration Required. I am so excited because we have a special guest today with us, and in just a few moments, we'll get to meet her and hear all about her story. And I know last time I left quite a few of us a little damper with some thoughts around Suicide Awareness Month. And my call to action was, don't just do it in September. Reach out and show your friends you love them, your family, friends, or even just someone at work. Reach out and let them know that someone cares. So with that, I'd like to introduce my first guest, Alicia Lavender. I have known Alicia for about 6 years and met her after I had to iterate in a crazy way in my journey. I became a single mom and I was struggling to get my mind right. And she was integral in helping me get my physical and mental health on track. So with that, with no further ado, welcome, Alicia. I'm so excited to have you here.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course. I couldn't imagine having anyone else for my first guest. Like, this was perfect. So before we dive into what we do and all that fun stuff, I want everyone to hear your journey. What is that journey? How have you iterated?
Oh,
tell us more.
I got a couple little ups and downs and ups and downs. So I was a professional dancer. I moved to New York City when I was 18. I went off to college and studied dance, and I got hired to go on tour. So I got to travel at the age of 20, and I performed in The Music Man. And I got to see the country, and then I went ahead and I did another show on tour. I went off to Europe, and I did another tour. So I was living my best dancer life in New York City. Yeah. If you would have met me then, I'm completely different from who I am now. I was actually really shy and timid. I was insecure of who I was as a dancer. I never thought I was good enough. I wasn't pretty enough. So I always went after like the little kid roles because I'm petite. I'm all of 5'1" and 3/4. So I got hired to play children. And then I had a dip in my career and I wasn't getting hired for shows and I was getting really insecure. I got hired to go off to Hawaii and go spend 6 months out and tour the islands. So I was like, pack my bags, ready to go. I mean, it was amazing. Got onto the island, I think it was in Honolulu, and 6 weeks into rehearsal, my dance partner dropped me. Completely, I heard the pop, you name it, my knee blew up. It was the size of a basketball. And so there I am 6 days into Hawaii when I'm supposed to spend 6 months. I blew out my ACL.
Wow.
Tore my meniscus, you name it. Like, my dance career diminished right there on the spot. So there I was having to fly back, and I couldn't even fold my knee up in a plane seat. Like, it was that bad.
Oh my God.
So then I went to New Orleans. I lived with my father and my stepmother to help heal. And I knew dancing was never going to happen in my life. So there I am. I think it was a good year, maybe 9 months of rehab. And I moved back to New York City in a different way. I had to figure out what I was now going to do with my life. I knew New York was my place. I could not go anywhere else, although now I'm here. That's a different story. But at that point, I was all of 23, I want to say, and it was my heartbeat. It's who I was. So I found either physical therapy or Pilates, and I interviewed at a physical therapy office and a Pilates studio the same day. And I met my mentor, Lawson, down in Brooklyn, and she changed my life. She pushed me into the Pilates career that I've now been doing now for 17 years now. So I just
But you're
knew,
only 25.
Oh, yeah.
So
Okay. Thanks. And so I just switched careers completely. And then I realized I wanted to help bodies. I knew at that moment, dancing was my love and my passion. I love being on stages. Those people who know when I'm teaching, I have my own stage now. But I got to work with bodies. I got to change how they feel. I got to change how they walk. So then I lived in New York and I pursued my dreams. I worked in Brooklyn, I worked in Queens, I worked in Manhattan, and I opened up my own studio. So I had my own studio in Astoria, Queens with my business partner, and my husband, I should bring him into it, sorry, Kenny, he was a Broadway trumpet player. And so he did all the Broadway shows. And with Broadway, it's feast or famine. You get a hit, it's amazing, and you are riding so high. You get a flop, you're out.
Yep.
So there I am. My husband is lead trumpet player of Bullets Over Broadway. We are high. I mean, we are just living. I am 8 months pregnant with my first child. I have the baby, Harrison, my dear boy. And 6 weeks after I have Harrison, the show closes. And so there we are with a brand new baby. I have my studio. My husband has nothing. And we just look at each other and we're like, we just can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
And so it took some real deep conversations of what our next steps are. And we could struggle and battle in New York City, or we pack up and find a new place. Yeah. So that was going on. I mean, Harrison's now 7. So we moved here when he was 9 months old. So we came to Dallas because that's where his family was from. We wanted support and just build family. And so right around that time, we packed up, and it was one of the hardest.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, it was 6 months here that I was in a deep, deep depression. I didn't know where I was. It was a culture shock. I come with a bite, and people here did not know what to make of me. I mean, I worked at tons of different fitness studios, and no one really got me. I was never really understood. And then I got a job at a yoga studio, and they took a chance on me not being a yogi at all, but they knew I had management quality. And fast forward to that's where you and I connected.
Yes. And I'm so excited they took that chance on you, because you actually kicked off a really important series of classes and different things there, bringing in different ways for us to get our fitness in, cardio, non-cardio, and all of that. And it was through that I think you had kicked off some program. It was like basically if we had a certain level of membership, we could have a free session, like an assessment, a physical assessment. And I think that was when you and I got to spend our first one-on-one time together. You had already been kicking my tail for a while. I would go to class and be like, oh my gosh, it's this Alicia woman. Like, she's going to get me. But I think that's where we met, and I heard a little bit. I didn't know, first of all, thank you for sharing all that, because I knew your journey was up and down, and we had talked a little about the dancer stuff. I'm still stuck on you were quiet and introverted, shy.
I know. You should see me like post audition when you didn't make the cut, and I'm sitting in a coffee shop. Like, oh well, but that's
that's it. Maybe the next session that we're like having our therapy session and workout. But but thank you for sharing that, because you know what I really love about what you shared was the iterations that you did. And I think that's why you then brought the programs you did into the yoga studio that I met you at. So before we dive into our journey together, what I really want everyone to hear is, what do you feel differentiates you as a trainer? I mean, look, if I tell you honestly, I worked with a lot of people before you, and they were awful. It was about, I almost felt like they would ask me what goal I was trying to achieve, and they would make sure that I would get within 80% of that goal before the last session, because all they cared about was me re-upping. And I don't feel like that's ever been the case with you. No. So tell me in your words, like, what do you feel makes you different?
I really try to be with the person. I look at the person, I assess the person. And first and foremost, it's anatomical, right? Yeah. I am a visual person. I like to look at the body that's in front of me, and I can see where things are happening. Mm-hmm. Then I start to work with them. I get them physical. And as we start to get physical and we build that relationship and that rapport, things start to open up. And then I start to see where there might be some cracks and where we can dig in a little bit deeper and open them up even more. So yeah, I'm a trainer and I'm a physical practitioner, but I'm also a person. Yeah. And I really thrive. And yeah, I push people. I get people out of their comfort zone. I do that, let's be real. But there is some empathy with me, even though I joke all the time I'm not empathetic, but I really am. Right. And I want people to understand that there's a vulnerability when you walk into that studio, wherever you are, whatever studio that you're in. I tell people all the time, they come in for their first lesson and I just say, congratulations. Yeah. Like, you just did the hardest step, was walking through that door. And from then on out, it's cake. Right? So yeah. I think there's a little bit of that where I try to applaud the people and find and make sure that they feel successful every time they leave that room. So I don't want you leaving feeling defeated anyway. I will make sure that you leave on that high, whether it's endorphin and you are like kicking so hard, or lately with us, it's been a little bit more restorative.
Yeah.
And it's been a little bit more mindful. And I've had a lot of, and it was funny, like I thought I would do that a lot more in New York City, where training, where I did a lot more lights off, breathing. I'm finding I'm doing it more here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's stress everywhere right now. And especially at this time, stress is high.
Yeah.
And if we can get people just to sit and breathe, I mean, we're doing something.
Well, I joked on the last episode when I was introducing that you were coming. I said, I feel like I've burned more calories in the times that we weren't doing the intense workout because of the work that was being done inside. I really do feel that I left burning more calories than I did with that. Just to your point, like, really pushing. It's easy. Do 20 lunges and do 100 squats and a bunch of burpees. You're really good at doing those butt kicking workouts. Don't get me wrong. But those, I knew what to expect.
Right.
It's the other ones that I would come in not knowing I was going to leave with the relief that I did. So I do agree with you on that being your uniqueness.
And, in New York, I made sure and I did some body work training as well. So not only do I do Pilates, but I went into the Thai massage world as well.
Yes.
And coming a little bit of a harder New York shell, going into this yoga, I mean, just the sanctuary and doing this training for it's like 6 or 7 days. I was up in this room in this yoga studio, and it was called Heaven, which couldn't have been more appropriate. And we were all up there and we're doing body work on one another. And at that point, I started realizing energy work.
Yeah.
And then you could feel a body and read a body. And I think I learned a lot of my technique of body awareness there.
Yeah.
And there are days where I work with certain clients. That's why I only take, personally, like one-on-one in a room. I don't, I'm very mindful about who I bring on.
Right.
Because you can get near someone and you can feel the cold.
Yeah.
Or you can feel the warmth. And you don't even know it. But then as a trainer, I would leave and I'm like, whoo, gotta wash all the way to the elbows today. Like, you have to do a lot of cleansing.
You do.
I mean, there's some stuff out there. And if we can open people up to just, I guess, being open, really. I mean, we're all in this, and this is why I love Pilates, right? Because society right now is in this shell.
Yeah.
The shoulders are forward. The heads are down. Like, this is everyone's posture now.
It is.
And so all I'm trying to do, exactly as you're sitting yourself up, right, is to get the shoulders back, to get the head on up and being mindful of what's in front of you. No one's aware anymore. No one's looking around side to side. I mean, that itself, they've done therapy with all this eye movement.
Yes.
I can't remember what it's called, but it's like, just walk and look around. People don't do it anymore.
No, they're down. It's this. It's actually this posture. People are looking down. I remember when I was traveling to New York for work every other weekend, and I would go to Jersey and New York, and I was watching people almost get run over by cars because they're so. It's that stress, and I brought that up in the last episode too. We don't walk away from our stress anymore. Even when I come to you, I've got to turn my watch off. I leave my phone in the front.
Yeah.
I'm like, for this 50 minutes, I can't be distracted because there's too much.
And there's that practice of either it's yoga, Pilates, turn your stuff off.
Yes.
Like, turn your watch on Do Not Disturb. I don't want to see a text message going through. Like, this is your time to be present for yourself. Because when other are you doing that for yourself?
Well, I love, I know when you started at the new Pilates studio, I think it was one of the first sessions I had gone to when you had first gotten there. And a lot of people there still didn't know Alicia. I knew you from the previous. And I remember someone looked at their watch or something to see how much was left of class. And you absolutely did exactly that. You're like, am I boring you? Is there a problem? And I was like, whoo, in case you didn't know, now you know.
They all know now. I'm like,
They do.
Do you look at that clock? 10 push-ups. Like, stop. Like, just be here. Like, it's 50 minutes.
You really did. I did watch you make someone do push-ups one time, and I was like, ha ha. And then I was guilty of it, I think, in one session, and they all laughed back. But I get it. We all have our... But I appreciate that. And that's one of the things that I do feel like you are great at. You, one of many things, right? But you really have me come into the room and understand that is me time. because the other stuff that's going on, it's going to happen, right? With or without, but this 50 minutes is me time.
Right. And who's doing that these days? Really?
Oh, goodness. Not enough. I mean, I know I'm watching my own friends and family and colleagues, like, we're not consistently, at least. There's moments.
And look, I'm a fitness professional.
Yeah.
I have to do it for myself. I have to set an alarm and saying, you are working out now.
Yes.
And so I have to hold myself accountable. And that's hard. I can train all you until like I'm like completely done on the sofa. But for me to roll out my mat or get on the reformer, I have to set a date and a time for myself. Because if not, a phone call will pop up, a text will come in, a client is booked. I have to do that for myself as well.
So before we talk about like where we started and where we are now, a question just popped into my head. What's the hardest version of a workout that you do for yourself? Is it the physical intense, or is it the roll out the mat and breathe?
Yeah. Oh, most definitely. I can do those HIIT workouts. I love them because I mean, I'm like a ball of fire. Like I just got to get going. So it's those times where I do roll out the mat. I have to sit and breathe and I have to really focus internally. I love it. Like I love the practice, but it takes more effort for me to get into the work.
Yeah.
But throw me some push-ups and some burpees and some throwing kettlebells. Like I'm in it. Yeah.
Well, I asked that because I think we're a lot alike.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the journey started, right? So roughly 6 years ago when I had that first session with you, I know, can you believe
6
it?
years, I'm sorry.
Well, and it's funny, as you were telling your story and you said it was 7, that Harrison was now 7. Well, my divorce just anniversaried 7 years. And so I met you literally. So you were going through your iterations and craziness in New York as I was going through it here. And I think that's another moment that I think is important to call out. We take for granted that every human is going through something at the same time we are. Good, bad, or indifferent. And I think one of the biggest mistakes we make as humans is that we try to compare my pain to your pain. And it doesn't matter because your pain is real for the changes happening for you, and my pain is real for the changes happening for me. And we just don't take that moment to say, I'm not the only one going through it, right? So I did find that interesting. But going to 6 years ago, I'll let you be honest about I shouldn't say let you, but feel free to share. Feel free to share who came in 6 years ago. What did you see?
Stress. I mean, stress. A little high strung. Mm-hmm. And there needed to be, goes to my like body awareness. It was more of this feet forward, come like at you kind of person, right? Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Right. Like it's this, I mean, I get it. Type A, go-getter. I want it now. What are my results? What are my expectations? It was that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I mean, we gave an assessment. We walked through some stuff. I talked about body. I mean, I gave you the scientific side of it.
Right.
And then we got to work and I knew what you at that time needed.
Yeah.
You wanted to sweat. You wanted to feel it.
Yeah.
You wanted to wake up the next morning and be like, yeah, I worked out yesterday. I feel good.
And I can't walk.
Right. Having issues coming in the bathroom.
Exactly.
Like those moments.
And like just the squat to the toilet was a little much on some days, but yes.
But that was that rapport.
It was.
But that's what you needed. That's who I was for you at that time.
Yeah.
And we built trust there. You knew you were getting the quote results you needed, but was it what you actually needed? It's what you wanted.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Well, it was easy, right? Because the other stuff would have required me to be a lot more vulnerable, right? And I was fresh off of accepting I never wanted to be divorced. Like that wasn't, I waited until I was 30 to get married, and I had been with my ex-husband for years. I mean, our relationship had been there for years, but I was committed to get married once, stay married, have that perfect white picket fence, 2.2 kids, all that good stuff. And I came to you at a time that I still hadn't accepted that that plan wasn't there. And I feel like I needed a plan that I could control. And what I could control was how many burpees I did, how many squats I got done, because I wanted to know I did something that I planned to do.
It was a check.
Yes.
You needed a check.
Yes.
Right?
I did.
And there's a time and place for that.
For sure.
I mean, you felt accomplished that day. You left there being like, yeah, I did that.
Always.
Nailed it. Right?
Yes.
So, but then was the hurt full?
No.
Right. Were you mindful in it? Yeah. And it's all those things. But I think who you were then, these weren't priorities.
Oh gosh, no.
And I don't know. It's shifted and morphed.
Oh yeah.
So let's talk about
So
the most recent.
I know. So I came to you again. So I had been seeing you at the Pilates studio, and I had been going to sessions. Now I changed studios. You were still at the Frisco one, and I moved to the Plano one. So every now and then I'd see you, and I would text you still from time to time.
Of course.
And then I realized I needed what I wasn't willing to take on before, but I don't think I knew it yet. When I came to you the first time. You want to share who showed up? Who showed up this last time?
It was a very different person. There was a lot more. Oh, I'm getting goosies. You were way more vulnerable. You were open, accepting, but there was hurt.
Yeah.
Right? And I was ready for my old school workouts with you. Like I had my plan. I was like, I'm going to get to kick
You had your notepad out.
Like,
You're ready.
I was like, I had my circuit for you. I'm like, oh, I haven't got to do this in a while. Like I was getting giddy.
Yeah.
And I saw you walk in the room and I was like, oh, yeah.
No.
I knew right away.
Yeah.
I was like, and we're putting this away. And I brought out a softball. I brought out my rolling stick. And I was like, let's get to work. And I knew it wasn't the old work. It was time to open you up.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think when I came to you that first day, I was inflamed all over. The scale wasn't showing me heavy in any way, shape, or form. I hadn't gained anything on the scale, but I mean, my fingers were swollen, my midsection was swollen, my legs were swollen, everything was inflamed.
And you were in pain.
Oh my gosh, my sciatica had gone absolutely off the roof. Like, if the right side wasn't hurting, the left side was hurting. And I never had a moment of relief. And internally, I had been through such a traumatic, emotional series of events across the months leading into coming to you. So look, I mean, if we combine, and I've been telling everyone this, COVID, I believe there is such thing as COVID depression. And I think a lot of people got it. And
I think they still have it.
I think they right. So I had that.
Yeah.
And then stacked on top of it, I had a series of traumatic, and I will literally say it that way, traumatic emotional experiences, personally and professionally, that just left me scared. I would say that I also came to you with a lot of fear inside of, who can I trust? How do I trust again? So yeah, I do remember that, because I remember you were like, okay, not doing that circuit today, are we? And we did. We spent how many weeks? It was like 4 or 5 sessions. All we did was
Breathing and stretching.
Stretching. Yeah. And
Stabilizing. We did a lot of stabilization.
We did.
Like very
We
small
did.
intrinsic stuff to make you get out of pain.
Yes.
At least pain relief.
yes.
Right? Like it wasn't going to last long per se, because it takes a while to build those stabilizers, but you were so off kilter.
Yeah.
I mean, physically, don't get me wrong. You looked amazing, right? But internally,
I was done.
I mean, but that's your body telling you.
Right.
And you were at that point now that you can listen to your body, where some people live in that pain and they don't know they're in pain.
They really don't.
It's their everyday life. And I look at people and I'm like, don't you hurt?
Yeah.
Like, how are your joints?
I want to hand them a softball,
Right.
and tell them to like stretch
Sit
their
on it.
Can you sit on this and then like put it in your psoas? My normal routine. But I want to do that for them because it's true.
Yeah.
It's so true. Well, and I think one of the biggest things too is I came to you this time ready to heal. The first time I knew I needed to at some point. It was on the checklist. I just hadn't gotten there yet.
It's a little bit further down.
Yeah, it was a little. So I think this time I came to you ready.
Oh, yeah.
But how would you compare? Well, actually, before we go there, because you brought up like the little pieces that we've done, it was because of our conversation. So we would talk about different things, and you said, you know, have you been to a chiropractor? Maybe that would help. And I all of a sudden, like the bell goes off. You know, it's really sad. I have a stepbrother that is phenomenal. One of the best chiropractors and acupuncturists anyone could ask for in Dallas. And you brought that up, and I went, I actually have someone I can go to. And so I started going to him in parallel of these first 4 or 5 sessions. And that actually, between the two of you, it was amazing. I suddenly looked like I had lost 5 or 6 pounds.
Because your inflammation went down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And in compliment to you and everything I've done, I had a friend come over last week that said, have you lost weight? Have you done anything? Like, you look like you've lost at least 7 or 8 pounds. And I just looked at my friend and went, no, scale's still the same. Nope. But I knew inside exactly what was being referenced. So
You let it go.
I did. Oh my gosh. Yeah. In time to start this podcast, right?
Right. Well, you know, you brought up acupuncture and chiropractor, and I always say just people need body work.
Yes.
Whether it's Pilates and just movement, whether it's chiropractor, get realigned, whether it's acupuncture. Now, acupuncture was essential to help move stasis, static, like dead energy in your body. Like just a little bit of that can free up and get things moving again. And especially in these times, we're stuck.
Yeah.
And we can't really do much more. But if you can't afford acupuncture, you can't just get up and take a walk.
Yeah.
I mean, something like a 10-minute walk a day can help move that body.
Well, and it gets you away from your computer and away from all the crazy stuff, right?
Well, I mean, you said it. I
I know. Well, before we close out in the next few minutes, so there's a couple things I do want to ask you about. So one, because we've been really honest about my journey, right? And if we give the latest update, now we're 50-50, I think, between those intense workouts. We've gone back to a few of those, and I've left not being able to sit on the toilet the next day.
Saying nice things about me the next day.
Not nice things. And I love when you text me and go, do you love me today? But we also still do that mind work. And I think that that's important to say, because I think a lot of people assume, well, I did that. I've released it. I'm done. And now I can go back to purely physical. And it's an ongoing thing. So I do want to make sure that we get that point across, and everyone needs to find what's comfortable for them.
And it goes back to reading the room.
Yes.
I can have you come in like, okay, on.
Yeah.
And you walk into the room like, okay, change of plans. I know within a beat of seeing you.
Yeah.
I know what we're doing.
Oh yeah. I mean, the last session, not going to lie, I had just been through a couple of things personally that had really jolted me, and I came in and you're like, all right, that's done. And I think we spent 20 minutes in breathing and me crying. And then after the tears were done, we spent the rest of the 30 minutes then working out. Yeah. Then we moved and I left completely different spirits than I walked in. So I agree with that. So before we go to the last couple things, so here's one question I would have for you. What would you tell everyone if there was one bit of advice you gave them about ways to go inside? Like, what's one way that you think most people would be able to go inside and start doing that work?
First, turn off your phone. Put it down, put it away. Get outside, get some sun on your face. First thing in the morning or right at sunset. Take a moment at those times that you can be present. I'm talking 10 minutes, guys. Just a little bit of time.
Right.
That's all it takes for you to just breathe and be present. And even if you have kids or a dog, perfect opportunity. We're going for a morning walk. We're going for a night walk. Those little things can really start to become a habit for yourself that for those next 10 minutes, you are not attached to something.
Right.
And I think that little bit can start to make a shift.
I agree. I couldn't agree with you more. I've started my daily walks with the girls, and we just go around the neighborhood and we check out the landscaping, and we're already planning what we're going to do in the spring to the front yard because we're taking pictures of the different, but we're literally smelling the roses and I leave my phone on my arm. Like I just have it just to track my walk, but I don't take it out. Like we don't have it in our hands. My daughter leaves hers at home and we just go. So I do love that as an anecdotal way for people to start, right? Because I think everyone needs to start somewhere.
Well, it's just like I tell people the first thing when they walk into the studio, that's their first step.
Yeah.
Most people just need to step out their front door.
Yeah, that'd be nice. But a lot of people don't. I have neighbors that I don't think I've met yet, and I've been living in my neighborhood for a year now.
Oh, I see kids all the time in my neighborhood coming off the bus, but I will never see them out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Does no one go outside anymore?
Well, I mean, I'm trying to assume, and my happy thought is that we've all got big backyards in my neighborhood, so maybe they're just in their backyards, and that's why we're not seeing them. But still, I feel like someone should check the mail sometimes.
We're the house with the crazy boys like running around. Everyone knows us in our neighborhood.
Exactly.
But just get outside.
Yeah. Well, and I know you've got a really cool special project you're working on. If you want to tell everyone a little bit about that, and then we'll make sure to get them details of the fun stuff.
So during COVID, I saw that people were struggling with fitness and they just needed to move. And I know Pilates was a safe place for them. So I started doing, as most fitness people do, because we were going crazy, is I started doing online Zoom workouts, right?
Yep.
And so I started small with my intimate group in this area. Then all of a sudden, all my New York friends started to be like, hey, let me know. Hey, let me know. So the next thing I know, I'm having these workouts with people all over the country going live.
Yeah.
And so it was a great way that we built community during this time where we were all sheltered inside.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
It filled me. It filled them. And so I had a friend in New York saying, hey, you know what? I think you need to start a little on-demand work website. So it's been in the back and it's starting to come to the front.
Yes.
So I got my domain and I'm building my website. And hopefully it's going to be going. It's going soon. So I've been filming videos.
Yes.
And so the website's lavenderfit.com.
Ooh.
I know, because my last name's Lavender. And so it's lavender. I'm a little soft, but really I'm not.
Well, and I love that there's lavender in my logo, so it's perfect.
I mean, it just fits. I mean, so, and it will be an on-demand website. So I will be shooting Pilates videos. I will be shooting HIIT videos. So you get an idea of both sides. And then maybe as we do a little bit of a deeper dive, maybe we'll do some more mindfulness and body scans and things like that I don't think people do enough of.
I agree. Well, and I know that I get to try out a couple of these videos while I'm across the pond for a couple weeks, right?
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to getting to, because that way I can still have my workouts while I'm gone, but then at the same time feel like you're there still cheering me on through day to day. But I'm so super excited that you're doing this because I feel like I want more people in your trade, in your industry, to understand the value of being human first themselves. Like I said, I would never in a million years recommend any of my other trainers that I've been to over my years. And you were actually the first one that actually made me like working out. As funny as it sounds, because you would kick my tail, but I actually look forward to it. Whereas for so many years, I was like, oh gosh, please don't make me work out. I don't want to do it. Not today. So I hope that a lot of people come and check out your workouts and just see that it can be different and you can actually enjoy it.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you so much for being here today. I cannot tell you how excited I am that you were my first guest. This was amazing. I hope you enjoyed it.
I'm
as
truly
much as
honored.
Awesome. And we will continue to go through our journey together. And with that, I want to say thank you for joining us. And I hope you've enjoyed this very honest and open conversation. This should give you a glimpse into our regular sessions. The only difference is we might have a few, not so kind words as far as the F-bombs and everything else, because we're both New Yorkers at heart, even though I've never lived there. But next time, what I do want to do is I want to bring in our recipes and all that stuff that I said. So I'll have my beautiful little girls with me, and we're going to talk through, some of the other parts of what I've had to do, which is all about changing my diet because I actually have an autoimmune disorder that limits so many things that I can or can't eat, but I still needed to be strong, physically and mentally. And believe it or not, food plays a huge, huge part in the mental part. So we'll talk a little bit about that and the ways that I learned that some food sensitivities I was having was actually causing some of my depression. So stay tuned for more of that, and we'll see you next time. Thank you again.